Imagine this. It's Christmas Eve. The fire is crackling, the kids are finally asleep, and all the presents are perfectly arranged under the tree. You and your partner are just about to head to bed, feeling that warm, festive glow. You've done it. Another perfect Christmas morning is just hours away. But then, you hear it. A soft thump from downstairs. Your heart skips a beat. You exchange a nervous glance. Probably just the house settling, right? Or maybe one of the kids creeping down for a sneak peek. You listen again? Silence. You brush it off, chalk it up to holiday exhaustion, and finally go to sleep. This is exactly what happened to the Miller family one Christmas. But for them, that strange little noise was just the beginning of a story that would turn their cozy holiday home into a place of unsettling mystery. The next morning, Christmas Day, was pure magic. The kids were ecstatic, tearing open presents, laughter filling the house. Everything was exactly as it should be. The Millers thought nothing more of the noise from the night before. It wasn't until a few days later that things started to feel off. It began with little things. A misplaced ornament, a faint scent of pine needles in a room with no decorations. Then, the footsteps started. At first, they were faint, almost imaginary. A soft tread in the hallway when everyone was in the living room. A creak on the stairs when everyone was fast asleep. Mrs. Miller was the first to really notice it, late one night, while reading in bed. A distinct, heavy footstep, right outside their bedroom door. She froze, listening. Her husband was asleep beside her. The kids were in their rooms. There was no one else in the house, or at least, there shouldn't have been. They started talking about it, comparing notes. Mr. Miller admitted he'd heard it too, thinking it was just his imagination. They tried to rationalize it. The old house creaking in the winter cold. The pipes, an animal in the attic. They checked everything. The attic was empty. The pipes were fine. The house was secure, yet the footsteps continued, becoming more frequent, more distinct. They always sounded like heavy boots, slowly, deliberately pacing the upstairs hallway. The feeling in the house began to change. The post-Christmas cheer evaporated, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The kids started complaining about their toys moving on their own. A teddy bear left on the bed would be found sitting in a chair. A stack of blocks would be neatly rearranged. The Millers were starting to get genuinely scared. This wasn't just an old house making noises anymore. It felt like they had an uninvited guest. That's when Mr. Miller decided to check the security camera footage from Christmas Eve. They had a single camera in the living room, pointing towards the fireplace and the Christmas tree. He wanted to see if it had picked up anything. Maybe an explanation for that first thump they'd heard. He scrolled back through the recordings, past the footage of the family opening gifts on Christmas morning. He went back to the dead of night, around 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve, a couple of hours after they had gone to bed. And then he saw it. His blood ran cold. There, standing in the middle of their living room, was a figure. It was unmistakable. A large man, dressed in a full Santa Claus suit. The classic red and white. The big black boots, the beard, the hat. He wasn't doing anything threatening. He was just standing there, next to the Christmas tree, his back partially to the camera, looking at the presents. The footage was grainy, but it was clear as day. It was Santa Claus. In their house? Mr. Miller's mind raced. How did he get in? He frantically checked the other camera angles from the exterior doors. Nothing. No sign of entry. He rewatched the living room footage. The figure just appeared. One frame, he wasn't there. The next, he stood there for about 10 minutes, perfectly still, before turning and walking out of the frame towards the kitchen, and then he was gone. Now, you might be thinking, okay, a weird prankster, a very stealthy burglar dressed as Santa. That's what the Millers desperately wanted to believe. But it didn't explain how he got in and out of a locked house without a trace. They had checked every single door and window that Christmas Eve before bed. They were all locked from the inside. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints in the snow outside. Nothing. Shaken, they called the police. The officers were sympathetic but skeptical. They reviewed the footage and did a thorough search of the house. They found nothing. No fingerprints, no fibers, nothing out of place. Without any evidence of a crime or a break-in, there was nothing they could do. They suggested it might be a digital glitch or a cleverly edited video, but Mr. Miller knew what he saw. The police left, and the Millers were alone again, with their terrifying secret. And the activity in the house escalated. The footsteps were now a nightly occurrence. Heavy, plodding steps, always seeming to pace the length of the upstairs hall, right where the bedrooms were. Sometimes they would hear a deep, hearty chuckle, a ho, 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 that sounded anything but jolly. It was muffled, coming from just beyond a closed door or down the hallway, sending shivers down their spines. The scent of pine and, weirdly, gingerbread would waft through the house at random times. The family was living on edge. The kids were too scared to sleep in their own rooms. They all started sleeping in the living room together, huddled for safety. But even there, they couldn't escape it. They would hear the floorboards creak right above them, the slow, deliberate pacing of their unwanted guests. They felt constantly watched. The festive decorations that still lingered around the house now seemed menacing. The smiling Santa figurines felt like they were mocking them, desperate for answers. Mr. Miller kept going back to the security footage. He wanted to find something, anything, he might have missed. He'd saved the clip of the Santa figure to a separate file on his computer. One evening, about 2 weeks after Christmas, he sat down to watch it again. He clicked on the file. An error message popped up. File not found or corrupted. He panicked. He searched his entire computer, the recycle bin, his cloud storage. It was gone. Not just the saved clip, but the original recording from the security system's hard drive for that entire night had vanished. It was as if it never existed. All the footage from before and after that night was perfectly intact. Only the hours where the Santa figure had appeared were wiped clean. There was no logical explanation. It wasn't a hardware failure. It was targeted. Something had deliberately erased the only proof they had. This was the breaking point. The footsteps, the laughter, the moving objects were one thing. But the digital deletion of evidence, that was something else entirely. It felt intelligent, malicious. It felt like whatever was in their house wanted to remain a secret. It wanted them to be terrified, but it didn't want anyone else to believe them. The Millers couldn't take it anymore. They packed a few bags and fled to a relative's house. They couldn't bear to spend another night in their home, listening to the phantom footsteps of the Santa who never left. They eventually put the house up for sale, unable to ever go back. They never found out who or what was in their house that winter. Was it a ghost? A prankster with an impossible ability to bypass locks and erase digital files? Have you ever received a phone call that sent a chill down your spine? Not just a prank call, but something truly unexplainable. Tonight, I am going to tell you a story that will make you think twice before answering an unknown number, especially during the holidays. This is a story that has been shared across countless forums and late-night discussions. A modern ghost story for the digital age. It's about a woman, a Christmas night, and a voice from beyond the grave. Our story begins on a cold Christmas night. Picture it. The house is quiet, the festive dinner is over, and the warm glow of the Christmas tree lights fills the living room. A woman, let's call her Clara, is relaxing, scrolling through her phone, enjoying the peaceful ends to a busy day. Her family has either gone to bed or left for their own homes. The house is silent, except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator. Suddenly, her phone rings, shattering the quiet. The screen flashes with an unknown number. Usually, she'd ignore it, assuming it's a telemarketer or a wrong number. But some strange intuition, tells her to answer. She picks up the phone and says a tentative hello. At first, there's only static, a crackling sound like an old radio. She's about to hang up, but then a voice comes through. It's a man's voice, and it's oddly familiar. It's warm, a little raspy, and it sounds exactly like her Uncle Ben. The problem is, Uncle Ben passed away 2 years ago. Her heart starts pounding. It can't be him. It must be a coincidence. Someone who just happens to sound like him. But then the voice says her childhood nickname, a name only her closest family members ever used. Is that you, little star? he asks. The blood drains from Clara's face. That was Uncle Ben's special name for her. No one else knew it. Shaking, she whispers, "Who is this?" The voice on the other end chuckles, a warm, familiar sound that she hadn't heard in 2 long years. "You know who this is?" the voice says. "I just wanted to call and say Merry Christmas." Clara is speechless. Her mind is racing, trying to find a logical explanation. Is this a cruel joke? Is someone using a voice changer? But the voice is too perfect, too identical to her uncle's. It has the same cadence, the same slight lisp, the same way he would pause between words. Clara, still in shock, starts to test him. She asks about things only the real Uncle Ben would know. She asks about the secret fishing spot they had when she was a kid, the one behind the old mill. The voice describes it perfectly, right down to the crooked willow tree where they used to hang their coats. He even mentions the time she fell in the creek and he had to carry her all the way back home. It was a memory she hadn't thought about in years. Next, she brings up a family secret. Something that was never spoken about outside their immediate circle. It concerned a disagreement between her grandparents from decades ago. The voice on the phone recounts the story with perfect accuracy, adding details that even Clara had forgotten. He speaks with a tone of gentle reminiscence, as if he were just strolling down memory lane. There's no way a stranger, or even a distant relative, could know these things. The conversation continues for about 10 minutes. It feels surreal, almost like a dream. Clara finds herself falling back into the easy, comfortable rapport she once shared with her favorite uncle. She forgets her fear and just talks. They talk about her new job, about her mom, about how the family is doing. The voice offers advice and encouragement, just like Uncle Ben always did. For a few precious moments, it feels like he never left. It's both comforting and deeply unsettling at the same time. But then, the atmosphere of the call begins to change. The warm conversation fades, and the voice on the other end becomes distant. The static starts to creep back in, growing louder and more insistent. Claire asks, "Uncle Ben, are you still there?" For a moment, there's no response, just the crackling noise. Then, she hears it. A slow, heavy breathing. It's labored, raspy, and it sends a fresh wave of terror through her. It sounds like someone struggling for their last breath.
"Hello?"
She cries out, her voice trembling. "Who is this? What do you want?" The heavy breathing continues for another 10 seconds, an eternity in the dead silence of her house. It's a horrifying, guttural sound that makes the hair on her arms stand up. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the line goes dead. The call is over. Clara sits there, phone still pressed to her ear, staring into the darkness. Her heart is hammering against her ribs. The warmth of the Christmas lights no longer feels comforting. It feels eerie. The quiet house now feels menacing. Was it real? Did she just speak to her dead uncle? Or was her mind playing tricks on her? The next day, still shaken, Clara decides she has to find out where the call came from. The unknown number is still in her call history. She writes it down and starts to do some digging. She tries calling it back, but the line just rings and rings with no answer. Her tech-savvy friend helps her trace the number. The results only deepen the mystery. The number doesn't belong to a cell phone or even a residential address. It's registered to a landline in an old, abandoned house on the outskirts of a town 100 miles away. A house that has been vacant and without power for over a decade. So, how could a call be made from a phone line that wasn't even active? And who was making the call? Was it truly a message from beyond? A Christmas miracle? Or a Christmas nightmare? The story offers no easy answers. Clara never received another call from that number. The experience left her with a profound sense of wonder and fear. It challenged everything she thought she knew about life, death, and the connections we share with those we've lost. This story is so compelling because it taps into a universal human desire, the wish to speak with a loved one just one more time. But it also plays on our fear of the unknown. The combination of intimate, personal details and the eerie, unexplainable circumstances is what makes it stick with you. The heavy breathing at the end is the part that truly terrifies people. It shifts the call from something potentially heartwarming to something deeply sinister. What do you think? Was it a ghost? A technical glitch of cosmic proportions? Or a very elaborate and cruel hoax? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. With the holidays just around the corner, we're all thinking about family, presents, and that magical feeling in the air. But tonight's story is a chilling reminder that not all holiday spirits are the festive kind. This is the tale of a Christmas Eve that a family would never forget, and the mysterious child who wasn't on their gift list. Imagine this. It's Christmas Eve. The house is quiet. The lights on the tree are twinkling, casting a warm, gentle glow across the living room. The parents, let's call them Mark and Sarah, have finally put their two young kids to bed. They've finished arranging all the presents, and now they're just sitting back, enjoying a peaceful moment together, soaking in the stillness of the night. Suddenly, a sound cuts through the silence. It's faint at first, but unmistakable. The sound of a child's laughter, coming from right beside the Christmas tree. Mark and Sarah exchange a confused look. Their children were sound asleep upstairs. They had just checked on them. Mark gets up to investigate, thinking maybe one of them snuck back down. But the hallway is empty. The laughter continues, a soft, happy giggle that seems to dance around the ornaments on the tree. It's not their son's laugh, nor their daughter's. It's a sound they've never heard before. They call out asking who's there, but the only response is another ripple of innocent laughter. A chill crawls up their spines. They search the entire downstairs floor, behind the couch, under the table, even in the coat closet. Nothing. The house is still, except for that disembodied giggle that now feels more unsettling than joyful. The next morning, the strangeness continues. As the family gathers around the tree to open presents, they notice something odd. Tucked away, almost hidden behind a larger box, is a small, beautifully wrapped gift. It's wrapped in old-fashioned, faded paper with a simple red ribbon. Neither Mark nor Sarah bought this gift. They ask each other, thinking maybe one of them picked it up as a last-minute surprise and forgot. But both are certain it wasn't them. They even checked with the grandparents who had dropped off their presents earlier in the week. No one knows where this mysterious gift came from. Their kids, excited by the mystery, tear it open. Inside is a single, hand-carved wooden spinning top. It's clearly very old, the wood worn smooth with time. It's a charming, simple toy, but the mystery of its origin leaves the parents feeling uneasy. Who would leave a gift for their family without saying a word? And more importantly, how did it get under their tree in a locked house? The day goes on, filled with the usual Christmas chaos and joy, but the unexplained gift and the memory of the phantom laughter hangs in the back of their minds, like a shadow they can't quite shake. Later that afternoon, while putting away some old photo albums, Sarah stumbles upon a box of photos she hasn't seen in years. These are pictures from her grandparents' time, dating back decades. As she flips through the faded black and white images, one particular photo makes her freeze. It's a family Christmas portrait from the 1940s. Her great-grandparents are there, along with her grandmother as a little girl. But standing next to them is a small boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old, holding the exact same wooden spinning top from the mystery gift. Her heart pounds in her chest. She had heard whispers of a family tragedy long ago, but never the full story. She calls her mother, her voice trembling as she describes the photo. The line is quiet for a moment before her mother finally tells her the heartbreaking tale. The little boy in the photo was her great-uncle, who had died tragically from a sudden illness right before his 6th Christmas. The family was so devastated that they rarely ever spoke of him again. His name was Thomas, and his favorite toy, the one he was meant to receive that Christmas, was a wooden spinning top his father had carved for him. A cold dread washes over Sarah. The boy in the photo, the laughter by the tree, the mysterious gift. It all starts to click into place in the most terrifying way. Could it be? Was the spirit of this long-lost child visiting their home? The idea is both heartbreaking and deeply frightening. Mark is skeptical at first, trying to find a rational explanation. Maybe it was a distant relative trying to honor a family memory, but he can't explain the laughter. He can't explain how the gift appeared inside their locked house. The atmosphere grows heavy, the festive spirit of Christmas now replaced by a chilling sense of unease. As night falls, the weird occurrences escalate. They start hearing faint footsteps, like the soft padding of a small child's bare feet on the hardwood floor. They seem to pace around the living room, always circling back to the area near the fireplace. Mark and Sarah, now terrified, huddle together on the couch, listening. They follow the sound, and that's when they see it. On the dark wood of the floor, a light dusting of soot from the chimney has been disturbed. And in the soot, there are tiny, perfect footprints. They are the size of a small child's, leading from the base of the fireplace, making a path toward the Christmas tree, and then stopping. There is no other explanation. Something or someone had come down their chimney, but it wasn't Santa Claus. As they stare at the footprints, the giggling starts again. This time, it's louder, clearer, echoing through the silent house. It sounds so close, as if the child is standing right beside them. But there's nothing there, just empty space and the twinkling lights of the tree, which now seem to mock them with their cheerful glow. The family is trapped in their own home, haunted by the ghost of a child who just wanted to experience one last Christmas. The minutes tick by, feeling like hours. They are too scared to move, too scared to even speak. They just sit and listen to the laughter and the faint footsteps. The joy of Christmas Day has completely evaporated, replaced by raw, primal fear. They watch the clock on the mantelpiece. It's ticking unnaturally loud in the tense silence. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. The laughter doesn't stop. It's a constant, ghostly presence in their home. They consider leaving, packing the kids in the car and driving to a hotel. But they're frozen, paralyzed by the surreal horror of it all. It feels like a nightmare they can't wake up from. Then, as the clock begins to strike midnight, a profound stillness falls over the house. The final chime echoes and fades, and with it, the laughter stops. The footsteps cease. The heavy, oppressive feeling in the air lifts, as if a switch has been flipped. The silence that follows is absolute, more complete than any silence they had ever known. Cautiously, Mark creeps over to the fireplace. The tiny, soot-covered footprints are gone, vanished, as if they were never there. The wooden spinning top, which their son had left by the tree, is also missing. They never heard the laughter again. Every Christmas, they remembered Thomas. They even started a new tradition, leaving a small, simple gift under the tree for him, just in case he decides to visit. The story became a piece of their family history, a somber, supernatural footnote to their holiday celebrations. It's a chilling reminder that the past never truly leaves us, and sometimes the spirits of Christmas are not the ones we read about in storybooks. They are the ones who are lost, looking for a home and a Christmas they never got to have. What do you think? Could a spirit be so tied to a holiday that it returns year after year? Or is there a more logical explanation for what this family experienced? It was Christmas Eve, and the first heavy snow of the season was falling, a thick, silent blanket covering everything. I was alone, content to be curled up by the fire with a good book and a mug of hot chocolate. The world outside felt muffled and distant, peaceful, but that peace was about to be shattered in the most terrifying way imaginable. It started around midnight. A soft, rhythmic sound from outside. Scrape, scrape. Scrape. At first, I dismissed it as a branch brushing against the house, weighed down by the snow. But it was persistent, almost deliberate. I tried to ignore it, to lose myself in my book, but the sound wormed its way into my subconscious, a tiny, unsettling splinter. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I crept to the living room window and peered out. The snow was pristine, a perfect, untouched canvas under the glow of the porch light. Nothing. No branches, no animals, just the steady, silent fall of snowflakes. I felt a little foolish, my imagination running wild on a lonely Christmas Eve. I went back to my chair, but the house no longer felt cozy. It felt watched. The scraping sound stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse, heavier. I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I decided to check the back of the house. I flipped on the backyard floodlight, and my heart hammered against my ribs. There, in the perfect, deep snow, was a single line of footprints. They weren't animal tracks. They were long, slender, almost like bare human feet, but impossibly narrow, and they formed a perfect circle around my entire house. My blood ran cold. I rushed from window to window, my breath fogging the glass. Front yard, side yard, backyard. The circle was complete, unbroken. Who would be out in a blizzard, barefoot, just walking in circles around my house? The most chilling part was that there were no other tracks, none leading to the circle, and none leading away. It was as if whatever made them had simply materialized out of the falling snow, started its patient patrol, and was still out there. I was trapped. The scraping sound started again, this time right at the window I was looking out of. Scra-ea. I flinched back, my heart leaping into my throat. There was nothing there. Just the dark glass and my own terrified reflection. But I'd heard it. It was real. I spent the next hour in a state of pure terror, darting between windows, watching the endless, circling footprints. The snow was still coming down hard, but it wasn't filling the tracks. It was as if the very air around them refused to let them be covered. The scraping moved around the house with a terrifying randomness. First the kitchen window, then my bedroom upstairs, then the small bathroom window on the side of the house. It was taunting me, letting me know it was there, that it could get to any part of the house it wanted. I locked all the doors, jammed chairs under the knobs, and armed myself with a heavy fireplace poker. I huddled in the center of the living room, away from all the windows, straining my ears in the silence between the scraping. My mind raced through every possible explanation. A prank? Who would pull such a cruel, elaborate prank in a blizzard? But the footprints. They defied logic. They weren't human. Not really. The hours crawled by. The scraping would stop for long stretches, lulling me into a false sense of security, only to start again with a sudden, loud scratch that made me jump out of my skin. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, clutching the poker, watching the first hints of dawn slowly lighten the sky. The gray morning light crept over the horizon, and with it came a fragile sense of hope. Surely, whatever this was, it couldn't survive the daylight. The snow had finally stopped. As the world outside became clearer, I noticed something new. The scraping had stopped for good, but in its place, there was something else. I forced myself to go to the front window, my hands shaking. The circle of footprints was still there, a stark, dark ring against the white snow. But now, inside the circle, right in the middle of my front lawn, something was written. The letters were huge, gouged deep into the snow as if by a giant finger. 4 words that made my soul freeze. I'm still here. I stared at them, unable to process what I was seeing. It knew I was watching. It was leaving me a message as I stood there, paralyzed. The sun finally broke over the trees. A brilliant, golden light spilled across the snow-covered landscape. And then, the most impossible thing happened. I watched, my eyes wide with disbelief, as the footprints began to fade, not being filled with snow, but literally vanishing. One by one, they dissolved into the pristine white, as if they were being erased from existence. The giant letters on the lawn vanished along with them. Within a minute, the entire yard was perfect and untouched again, as if nothing had ever been there. It was as if the whole night had been a terrible nightmare. But I knew it wasn't. I knew what I saw. I still live in that house. Every time it snows, I can't sleep. I watch the windows, waiting for the scraping to start again. I never feel truly alone here, because whatever was watching me that Christmas night left a permanent scar on my mind with its terrifying message. I'm still here. I believe it. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever experienced something you can't explain, let me know in the comments. And make sure to subscribe for more chilling tales. Stay safe out there.